So we made it home with the car, and I'm gonna do a quick walk around just so you guys can see why I decided to trade an R34 GTT for an RX-7. So this is a 1993 Mazda Rx-7. This is actually a US spec. It's not a right-hand drive. It's the only thing about it that I would wish it was right-hand drive, but I'll explain why. So I've always been obsessed with the Japanese Grand Touring Championship, and as anybody who knows anything about those championships knows, the RX-7s that competed in that championship were NA, and they were 3-rotor instead of a 2-rotor. So that's a big deal. And I've never really had the opportunity to build a car with an NA setup like that, especially a 3-rotor 20B. So the opportunity came up and I got this car. I'll get that out of the way. I wanted it. Now, onto the car. This is a 20B, C-Series 20B that was built by Defined Auto Works. If you saw in my last video, I went up there and actually visited them and chatted with Logan, the owner, for a little while about this setup. This motor is built to the gills. It is a 9.7 to 1, which is a higher compression rotor. 9.7 to 1 rotors with balanced, polished crankshaft or eccentric shaft. And right now it's running in a non-peripheral situation, but it does have the partial peripheral ports. So I will be exploring that with some ITBs, but the reason why the guy raced it like this was because his class was limited to 300 horsepower or thereabouts, and this setup made 470 horsepower with the ITBs. So you can see the electromotive TEC3 trigger there, so it's running an electromotive TEC3 for a computer. It has floating master cylinders for the brakes, upgraded clutch cylinder, and in-canal header, scalloped rotors, ported. Everything about them this motor is just done correctly. As you can see, custom mounting here. Now the Defined Auto Works mount for the 20B is actually in the factory location for the steering, so it keeps the steering geometry perfect. That's one thing that I thought was really cool about the car. It also has a full cage in it. It's running the Trackmaster TINs, so it's a really nice coilover setup. And one of the other gems of this car is these awesome Brembo X9 2-piece monoblock calipers all the way around. So we've got some serious brakes on this thing. They're not assisted, so it doesn't even need the assistance, obviously. When you get into the brake at all, it really stops. Inside there's really not much left. It's got a couple of bride seats. NASCAR bar here for the door. But it's got the bride seats on rails, so that's all adjustable. It's got a Mugen steering wheel, Sparco hub, and Apex EL2 gauges with a custom gauge panel that was pretty nice. Got like the switches and stuff. Painless wiring, or not pain. I don't remember who made it. I think it was painless wiring harness. But either way, it's all tucked up. There's no extra wires or anything anywhere. Another cool thing about this car is the transmission. This is actually running a 6-speed RX-8 tranny, which mates up really well to this motor because this motor spins up pretty high, over 9,000 RPM. When you get into that 10,000 RPM range, the gearing is funky on the 5-speed. The other thing they did was they also made a power plant frame that connects to an RX-8 pumpkin in the back. So this is running an RX-8 rear end as well, which is a 433, I think, to 1 ratio. So that's another huge plus. The gear ratio on this thing is just perfectly suited. So exhaust is Defined stainless all the way through with 2 mufflers in line to create enough back pressure for the harmonics in the motor to work perfectly. Wheels on it right now are Enki PF01s. I'm okay. Not a huge fan, but they work for now. They're pretty light. It's got Continental slicks on it, 285s, so they're big all the way around. And I mean, there's just a host of suspension upgrades on this thing. So really a cool car. I'm really excited to have this thing, and it's just it's like I said, it's a dream come true. So let's go ahead and start it up, because I know you guys want to hear this thing. Camera, you want to hold it for me? I'm gonna start it up. This thing sounds like no other. Ready?
Yep.
So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed that little sound clip there. This thing is just absolutely maniacal. It's hard to explain the power delivery. It's linear, but it's impressively torquey. It just jumps to the limiter immediately. So, limiter set right now at 9,000. I guess he had it set up that way for the power level that he was running at, blah, blah, blah. But long story short, we got a lot of work to do. We're gonna make this thing amazing. My plans are to make a JGTC tribute car. That's my real goal. And I'm gonna work with Defined to hopefully get their wide body kit on this car, because I think that's the closest thing we're ever gonna get to it. song of my people.